Educational use only. Our group grants permission for our instructor, Mr. Roldan Ardines, to use this as educational material.
Have you ever wondered why, in a world that produces enough food for everyone but millions still hungry? Is the problem really about food or something deeper? Global food security refers to a situation where all people at all times have physical, social, and economic access to sufficient, safe, and nutritious food that meets their dietary needs for an active and healthy lifestyle. This definition is based on standards from the Food and Agriculture Organization. It is not just about food availability, it also includes access, stability, nutrition, and proper use of food. So,
Now let's bring the issue closer to home. What happens when a global crisis hits? Who eats and who doesn't? More importantly, what decides whether food actually reaches our plates? Well, now, food security is shaped by interconnected systems, not just food production. When one fails, the entire system weakens. Now, here are some factors affecting the food security. First is the economic factors. Economic factors play a major role as poverty and unemployment limit people's ability to buy food. Even when food is available, rising prices force families to reduce both the quantity and quality of their meals. Second is agricultural productivity. Agricultural productivity also affects supply. Efficient farming depends on access to technology, quality inputs like seeds and fertilizers, and government support. In many developing areas, limited resources lead to lower and unstable food production. The next is the climate conditions. Climate conditions further challenge food security. Even like droughts, floods, and typhoons can destroy crops, damage farms, and delay harvest, leading to shortages and higher prices. Next is the political stability and governance. These are important in ensuring fair and distribution and support systems. Weak governments can delay food aid and worsen access issues. And lastly, the infrastructure and supply chains. These determine how food moves from farms to markets. Poor roads, lax storages, and weak transport systems can cause spoilage, delays, and increased costs.
Next up, the Philippines during the pandemic. During the COVID-19 pandemic, the Philippines faced food security problems not because food completely ran out, but because many people had difficulty accessing and affording it. Lockdowns and travel restrictions disrupted supply chains, making it harder to transport food from farms and fishing areas to cities. This caused delays and shortages in some markets. Many Filipinos also lost jobs and had reduced income during the pandemic, especially daily wage earners and small business workers. Even when food was available, many families struggled to buy enough because prices of basic goods increased due to limited supply and higher transportation costs. To help citizens, the government provided cash assistance and food packs, while community pantries also helped families. However, aid distribution was sometimes uneven, and not all communities received enough support. Overall, the pandemic showed that food security is not only about having enough food, but also making sure people can access and afford it during emergencies.
So, let's go on with my topic. So, my topic covers the 5 essential components of the food security, and those are availability, access, utilization, stability, and sustainability. We will examine how these 5 factors work together to ensure population is properly fed. Food security is a multidimensional concept that relies on the five interdependent pillars to ensure a population is properly nourished. So the first one is the availability. The physical presence of a sufficient food supplies in a specific area through production, imports, or storage. So for example, the rice production and imports. The government maintains a national rice buffer stock while maintaining imports to fill gaps when local harvests are affected by typhoons. And regional specialties. Areas like Ilocos Sur rely on local crops like rice and mung beans to produce regional staples like the Ilocos empanada. And the second one is the access. The physical and economic ability of people to obtain food regardless of poverty and market price tax. For example, financial constraint. High food inflation and rising production costs in 2026 continue to strain household budgets, making it difficult for many families to afford basic ingredients. And logistic support. Government measures are currently being implemented to ease people and transport costs, helping food products reach market more affordably. So the third one is utilization. The body's ability to effectively absorb nutrients, which depends on food safety, nutrition, clean water, and health conditions. For example, food safety plans. The Department of Health (DOH) recently launched the country's first food safety crisis management plan to handle rapid recalls of contaminated products and addressing malnutrition. Public health programs focus on reducing stunting in children, which remain a challenge with a stunting rate of approximately 23.6%. So here's the fourth one, the stability. They guarantee that food access remain consistent over time and it is not disrupted by temporary crises or disasters. For example, disaster response. Because the Philippines is highly disaster prone, the World Food Program uses pre-arranged financing to quickly provide cash or food to communities after major typhoons. And conflict zones. The BARNM region specialized aid programs ensure food remains stable for families displaced by localized conflicts. So the last one is sustainability. The long-term capacity of food system to provide for current population without compromising the needs of future generation. For example, climate-smart farming. The Climate Change Commission or CCC promotes regenerative agriculture such as Heritage Cacao Project in Laguna, which use drip irrigation or organic composting to protect soil for future use. And modernization. Agriculture programs in 2026 are shifting toward science-based farming to help crops survive unpredictable seasons and more intense typhoons. So food security is achieved when food is available, accessible, properly utilized, consistently available over time, and produced sustainably to meet both current and future needs.
Good day everyone, I am Engine Cadet Mersoler. Today, I will discuss the major threats to global food security, a critical issue that affects millions of people around the world. First, climate change and extreme weather remain one of the most serious threats. Events such as droughts, floods, heat waves, and typhoons significantly reduce crop yields and damage agricultural land. Because of these unstable weather patterns, farming becomes unpredictable, increasing the risk of food shortage and hunger. Second, population growth continues to put pressure on food systems. As the global population increases, the demand for food rises rapidly. However, in many regions, food production cannot keep up with this growing demand, leading to imbalances in supply and availability. Third, poverty and economic inequality limit access to food. Even if food is available, many individuals cannot afford it due to low income and unemployment. This shows that food security is not only about supply, but also about accessibility and affordability. Fourth, conflict political instability severely disrupt food systems. Wars and internal conflicts destroys farms, infrastructures, and transportation systems. As a result, food distribution is blocked, causing hunger crisis in affected areas. Fifth, food waste and poor distribution systems contribute to the problem. A large amount of food is lost during shortage, transportation, and consumption. While some regions waste food, others suffer from hunger, highlighting inequality in distribution. Lastly, global supply chain disruptions such as pandemics or fuel crises as today affect the movement of food across countries. These disruptions lead to delays, reduced availability, and rising food prices, making it harder for people to access basic necessities. In conclusion, global food security is threatened by multiple interconnected factors. Addressing these issues requires collective actions, sustainability practices, and improved systems to ensure that food is available, accessible, and sufficient for everyone.
Is food security is possible? The answer is yes. Food security is possible, but it's difficult and requires global cooperation. It can be achieved through sustainable farming practices, better food distribution system, poverty reduction program, climate resilience agriculture, reducing food waste, and lastly, strong government policies and international supports. After seeing all the challenges the world faces, from climate change to poverty and conflict, we are led to one important question. Is it even possible for everyone in the world to have enough food? Or it is food insecurity something we all always struggle with?
So good morning sir, good morning everyone. So our topic is all about environmental crisis. Affecting food security means the serious environmental problems are making it harder to produce, access, and maintain enough safe and nutritious food for people. So in the simple terms, it happens when damage to nature like climate change. So climate change is disrupts normal farming conditions, also making it harder to predict when to plant or harvest. Crops can fail due to much heat rains or sudden disasters. Example, a rice farmer plants during the usual rainy seasons, but drought happens instead of causing the crops to dry and die before harvest. So next is soil degradation. Soil loses its nutrients and structures when it is overused or mismanaged, so plants cannot grow properly even if seeds are good. So our sample is a farm that keeps planting corn every year without adding fertilizer, produce smaller and weaker crops over time. So next is water scarcity. Lack of water limits irrigation, so crops cannot receive enough moisture to grow, especially in dry or drought-prone areas. Example is like during a long season, in dry seasons, vegetable farms cannot water its plants, causing them to wilt and reducing harvests. Next is loss of biodiversity. Fewer plants and animal species make farming system weaker because natural helpers like pollinators and pest controllers disappear. So example is with a fewer bees, fruit trees produce less fruit because pollination does not happen properly. So next is environmental pollution. Pollution introduces harmful substances into food productions affecting both crop growth and food safety. Example is vegetables grown near a polluted river absorb toxic chemicals, making them unsafe to eat.
So when we talk about global food security, we're not just talking about food on the table. We're talking about systems, decisions, and consequences that shapes who eats and whom doesn't. From economic inequality to climate disasters, from supply chains to government action, every factor is connected in one global picture. The pandemic showed us something important. Food can exist in abundance yet still be out of reach for many. This means that the challenge is not only production, but fairness, access, and sustainability. Yes, food security is possible, but only if we stop treating it as a separate issue and start seeing it as a shared responsibility. Government, communities, and individuals all play a role in building a system that is resilient, inclusive, and sustainable. In the end, the real question is not whether the world can produce enough food, but whether we can build a world where no one is left behind in the table.